What's up, guys? Josiah here. It's the 2nd of December 2008, and I've been studying all afternoon. I have an exam a day basically for like the next 6 days, and then after that, I am completely done with the semester. Um, but I wanted to at least take a break here just for a few minutes, and I was browsing around YouTube, and I remembered that John for Lakers had posted a text survey quite a while back, and I thought I would take a few minutes and give you guys my answers to it. So let's get started. The first question is, what is the main OS you use today? As of right now, I use OS 10 Leopard 10.5.5, I believe it is, and I'm definitely looking forward to when Snow Leopard comes out. But so far, Leopard has been a really great OS for me to be using on my iMac and my MacBook. They've both been just amazing. How many desktops do you own? Right now, I only own one. It's my iMac. It's a 20-inch, 2.66 gigahertz iMac. It has 4 gigs of RAM and a bunch of other specs that really don't matter all that much. How many laptops do you own? I just, about a month and a half ago, picked up an aluminum MacBook, the 2.4 gigahertz version. It has 2 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and just about everything else is about the same as every other MacBook you've ever heard about. The highest spec system you currently use. Currently, it's my iMac. Again, it's 2.66 gigahertz Core 2 Duo with 4 gigs of RAM. So, I mean, it's plenty fast for literally just about anything I can throw at it. At least 4 to 5 times faster than my old system, which I replaced this. I used this to replace it. So, very happy with that. Highest spec system I've ever used. Depends. If you're talking about for a long period of time, probably my iMac. If you're talking about just if I've ever used a really fast computer, one of the octa-core Mac Pros at the Apple Store. I won't even go into it. It was so fast, I really doubt that I could ever use even like a fourth of it. So, yeah. Either way, it's probably the most powerful computer I'll ever use, period. Which piece of software do you run that is the most system hungry? For instance, Photoshop or Final Cut. As of right now, I actually had to stop using iMovie 08 because the audio and the video were completely like mixed up. They wouldn't sync at all. So I switched back to iMovie 06 or iMovie HD, and as of right now, that's probably the only program that I use that really uses up a lot of memory. The only other programs that I use are through Crossover. I use Fubar 2000 to do all of my audio encoding, and while I'm doing those batch encode processes, that's probably the most memory intensive or processor intensive program that I use. So that's that. Software I use for photo editing. Back when I was a Windows user, I used Picasa through Google, and it's kind of like one of those dumbed down, sort of very simple, has the basic features that you need. But I've used all the way through Photoshop CS3. I got my start with Photoshop. I think it was Photoshop 7. So I mean, I've been using Photoshop for a while, mostly just for photos. Nothing really intense with like graphics and whatnot. Software I use for movie editing. iMovie 06 right now. I'm curious to actually see how this works out. I like the interface quite a bit more. I was actually talking to Alfred Ada Blasi by email, and he and I have been kind of chatting back and forth about different things maybe I can do to fix my my audio and video lag problem. But so far, I like the interface of iMovie 06 quite a bit better. Plus, it seems like it's a little bit more minimalistic. Reminds me a lot of software that I would have used a couple years back, which, if there was any way that I could get iTunes to play gapless files and then back it off to like version I think like 5, I would be happy, because that was when I got my start with iTunes on. But I can't. So, current web browser. As of right now, that would be Safari. Safari 3.1 point something. Until just very recently, I was using Mozilla Firefox 3. And I've been using Firefox for at least 5 years, back in the day when it was like Firebird 0.6, a long time ago. And then I discovered that you can install a version of AdBlock for Safari. So I've been using Safari since then. And I don't know what was causing it, but for quite a few times when I was browsing on Facebook. If I clicked on the wrong area of the page, it would completely just crash Safari. So I turned off the ad block, and it didn't seem like it was causing a problem. So now I'm still using Safari, but I'm just kind of trying to avoid clicking in that area of the page. And so far, I haven't had any problems since then. So, current browser, the best you've ever used, if not, which was? As of right now, Firefox is probably still the best browser I've ever used. I'm still getting used to Safari, so I can't really say one way or the other yet. Which do I prefer? Mac OS 10, Microsoft Windows, etc. Right now, OS 10. I've never used such a powerful operating system. Windows was great back when I was using it, but OS 10, it fits my needs quite a bit better. If you've used Windows before, which has been your favorite version? Obviously, Windows XP. I got my start with Windows 3.1 way back in the day. And then when my family got their first computer, it was Windows 98, I think Service Pack 2 system. It was a compact. It had I think a 3 gig hard drive. I mean, we're talking pretty screaming fast system. I think it had a 533 in it or something. But yeah, that was what I got my start on, and I've used pretty much every Windows version since then. I will never use Vista. That's just personal preference. I'm looking forward to seeing maybe what Microsoft can come out with Windows 7. See what happens there. Gotta hurry up. If you've used Macs before, which has been your favorite version? If you're talking about the version, I've only ever used 10.5 Leopard, so I can't really say about any of the other versions. Do I have any tech-related qualifications? Not really. Out of all the tech revolutionaries, who do you think most inspires you? Probably, what's his name? The guy who designed the MacBooks. Johnny Ive. There we go. I remembered. Yeah, he's probably my biggest inspiration because he designed my two favorite electronics ever, the iMac and the MacBook. So kudos to Johnny Ive. Right behind him would be Steve Jobs. And then after that, I really couldn't care less. If you could have any gadget in the world not yet invented to help you, what would it be and do for you? I'm pretty content with how things are now. I'd say if I could get a computer that would just project on the wall, I could just touch the wall or something, and that way I could make it as big as I wanted to. I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I really, like I said, I'm pretty content with how things are now. Which search engine do I use? Google, and that's it. I've only ever used Google. I started using it back when it first showed up on the internet, and I've been using it since then. Never had a problem with it. Favorite Apple product of all time? Probably the iPod. I got my first iPod when it was still back in the 5th generation, before the iPod Classics came out. I got the iPod Video. That was an excellent buy. Actually, I had an iPod Mini before that. It was one of the green 2nd gen minis, and I was very happy with that. It's always been my favorite product through them. Have you ever tried a Linux distribution? Yes. I tried Ubuntu a few years back on one of my old laptops, and it just didn't work for me. I mean, it's a great operating system, but I don't have the time to invest into an operating system to have to learn something like that. I'd rather use something like OS 10 or Windows I'm used to. It doesn't take a lot of time to learn how to use, and so that's basically it. Can you program, and if so, what languages? No, and I learned a little bit of PHP and a little bit of HTML back in the day, but I don't know if those are really languages. Have you ever developed your own web page or for another person? I started working on one back in the day, quite a few years back, and I stopped working on it just because I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere.